Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
It's great to be back.
So today we're really excited to dig into one of my favorite books, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel.
Such a good one.
Really is. And we're going to be focusing on Chapter 7, where he dives into this idea of freedom as being the highest dividend that money can pay.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about this is that it really challenges the way most people think about wealth, right?
Totally.
Like we tend to associate wealth with luxury and possessions and all these material things.
Yeah, fancy cars and big houses.
Exactly. But Housel flips that script and argues that true wealth is about having control over your time and your choices.
So not about having a ton of money, it's about what that money allows you to do.
Exactly. It's about the freedom and flexibility that money can buy you.
And I love how he kicks off the chapter with this quote from psychologist Angus Campbell. It goes, "The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today."
Oh man, that is such a powerful quote.
It is, right?
It really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. Like, imagine having that level of autonomy over your life.
To just wake up and know that you have the freedom to choose how you spend your day without any financial constraints.
To pursue your passions, to spend time with loved ones, to just be present and enjoy life without constantly worrying about money.
And the thing is, it doesn't even require you to be like a multi-millionaire to experience this kind of freedom.
Right. Even a modest amount of wealth can make a huge difference.
Totally.
Like just having a little bit of a financial cushion can provide a sense of security and open up so many possibilities.
Yeah, you don't have to stress about every unexpected expense or feel trapped in a job you hate because you're afraid of being broke.
Exactly. It's about having the freedom to make choices that align with your values, even if they don't always make the most financial sense.
So like choosing to work a job with a shorter commute, even if it pays a little less.
Or being able to take a few days off work without panicking about your bank balance.
It's about buying yourself some peace of mind and flexibility.
Exactly. And that brings me back to something I was thinking about earlier. You know, the idea that wealth isn't just about money, but about control and choices.
Yeah.
It reminded me of this time when I was younger. I was like dead set on becoming an investment banker.
Oh, yeah. Remember those days?
Oh, man. I thought I had it all figured out.
They're going to be rolling in dough.
Exactly. Big salary, prestigious job. I thought I had won the career lottery.
But then you actually got a taste of what that life was like.
Yeah, I landed a summer internship at one of those top investment banks, and it was a real eye-opener, let me tell you.
So what happened?
Well, I quickly realized that those big salaries came with a pretty hefty price tag.
Long hours, crazy work-life balance.
You got it. These people were working around the clock, weekends, holidays, you name it.
They were practically chained to their desks.
It was intense, and you know what? It made me question whether all that money was actually worth it.
Yeah, like what's the point of having all that wealth if you don't have the time or energy to enjoy it?
Right. These bankers were making tons of money, but they were missing out on so much life.
Time with family, hobbies, travel, all the things that actually make us happy.
It's like they were trading their lives for money.
And that's the trap we can fall into,
Yeah.
right? Thinking that more money automatically equals more happiness.
Yeah, but the research actually shows that's not the case.
Like there's a point where more money doesn't necessarily lead to more happiness.
Right. And psychologists have a name for this phenomenon. It's called reactance.
Reactance.
Yeah, it's that feeling of being controlled or restricted, and it can actually lead to unhappiness regardless of your income level.
So even if you're making a ton of money, if you feel like you have no control over your time or your choices,
It can lead to resentment, frustration, even burnout.
it's like you're stuck on a hamster wheel, constantly chasing more, but never really getting anywhere.
It's a recipe for unhappiness. And, you know, this ties back to Angus Campbell's research on happiness.
Yeah, how's that?
Well, he found that having control over your own life is one of the biggest predictors of happiness.
So it's not money itself that makes us happy. It's the control that money can give us.
Exactly. Money can be a tool for greater autonomy and choice.
It's about being able to say yes to the things that matter to you and no to the things that don't.
It's about designing a life that aligns with your values and your goals.
And Housel has this great story in the book about a friend of Derek Sivers who really embodies this idea.
Oh, yeah. I love that story.
So this guy was working a low-paying job in Manhattan, but he was super diligent about saving money.
He had a clear goal in mind.
Yeah, his dream was to become a full-time musician.
And he knew that achieving that dream would require a certain level of financial freedom.
So he saved and saved until he had enough money to quit his job and pursue his passion full time.
And it wasn't about getting rich quick or anything like that.
No, it was about buying himself the freedom to live a life true to himself.
And that's what's so inspiring about this story. It shows that even modest savings can be transformative if you have a clear vision for how you want to use that money.
It's about investing in your freedom.
And you know what's interesting is that this whole idea of freedom as the ultimate dividend raises another question.
What's that?
If freedom is so closely tied to money, shouldn't everyone be getting happier as society becomes wealthier?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But that doesn't seem to be happening.
Like, we've seen incredible economic growth over the past few decades, but happiness levels haven't really increased all that much.
It's a paradox.
So what's going on there?
Well, it seems like our definition of enough keeps shifting.
Like, the more we have, the more we want.
It's like we're on this hedonic treadmill, constantly chasing after the next thing, but never feeling truly satisfied.
And that brings us to another interesting figure that Housel talks about, John D. Rockefeller.
Ah, one of the wealthiest men in history.
But here's the thing. He didn't live a life of crazy extravagance like you might expect.
No, he was actually known for being incredibly intentional with his time and his money.
He was a quiet observer in meetings. And when people asked him about his silence, he would often recite this poem.
Oh, I love this one.
Okay, hit me with it.
All right, so it goes, "A wise old owl lived in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why aren't we all like that wise old bird?"
Man, that's deep.
Right. And it perfectly captures Rockefeller's approach. He understood that wisdom often comes from observation and reflection, not from constantly chasing more.
So even though he was incredibly wealthy, he recognized that time was his most valuable asset, and he guarded it carefully.
And I think there's a powerful lesson there for all of us, regardless of our income level.
Like, we can all learn from Rockefeller's example and be more intentional with our time and our energy.
Especially in today's world where the lines between work and life are becoming increasingly blurred.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to prioritize the things that truly matter.
And technology, while amazing in many ways, can also make it harder to disconnect and recharge.
Back in 1870, 46% of jobs were in agriculture and 35% were in crafts or manufacturing.
Wow, so different from today.
Right now, 38% of jobs are what we call decision-making jobs, which often involve being constantly connected to technology.
Yeah, it's like our brains are always on.
So it's even more important to be deliberate about creating boundaries and protecting our time.
And to figure out how we can use our resources to create a life that feels both fulfilling and free.
Exactly. And that's something we're going to explore further in the next part of this deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so we've talked about this idea of freedom being like the ultimate reward money can buy.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put this into practice?
Right. It's easy to get inspired by these stories, but not everyone can just up and quit their job tomorrow.
Exactly. So where do we even begin?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that building freedom is a process.
It's not like a one-time event.
No, it's about making small, incremental changes over time.
Like those little daily choices that add up over time.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful things you can do is start building a financial cushion.
Even if it's just a little bit at a time.
Right. Even a small amount of savings can give you a sense of security and open up possibilities.
It's like that feeling of having a safety net.
Exactly. You can handle unexpected expenses or even make a change without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Like you're not trapped.
Right. And that can make a huge difference in how you approach your work and your life in general.
It's like that feeling of having options.
Exactly. Imagine if you had a few months of living expenses saved up.
You wouldn't be so afraid to ask for a raise or look for a new job.
Or even start your own business.
It gives you the freedom to take risks and pursue opportunities that you might not have considered otherwise.
And even if you don't end up making a major change, just having that financial cushion can reduce so much stress.
Yeah, that's like that peace of mind is priceless.
Totally. And, another thing that can help is being more mindful about how you spend your money.
Like making conscious choices that align with your values.
Exactly. Like instead of always going for the cheapest option, think about how your spending decisions impact your time and your energy.
So like choosing to spend a little more on groceries if it means you have more time to cook healthy meals.
Or paying for a cleaning service if it frees up your weekends to spend time with loved ones.
It's about recognizing that time is a valuable resource too.
Absolutely. Sometimes it makes sense to spend money to buy more time.
And reduce stress.
Exactly. And it's not just about having more free time. It's about having control over how you spend that time.
So it's not just about working less. It's about working smarter and designing a life where you have more autonomy.
Exactly. Like maybe that means setting clearer boundaries around work.
Or being more selective about the projects you take on.
Or even delegating tasks so you can focus on the things you're truly good at.
It's about being proactive and intentional rather than just reacting to whatever comes your way.
And this all ties back to something we were discussing earlier about the paradox of progress.
Yeah, like how despite all our material wealth, we're not necessarily getting any happier.
Right, and I think it's because we've been so focused on accumulating stuff that we've neglected the things that truly matter.
Like human connection and meaningful experiences.
Exactly. Those are the things that money can't buy.
They require effort and intention.
And it's interesting when you think about those interviews that Carl Pillimer did with all those elderly Americans.
What struck you about their perspectives?
When none of them talked about wishing they'd worked more hours or made more money.
Right. They all focused on relationships and experiences.
Exactly. The things that truly enriched their lives.
And it makes you wonder if maybe we've got our priorities a little messed up.
Like maybe we need to shift our focus from material wealth to something more meaningful.
Something that money can help us achieve, but isn't the end goal in itself.
Like freedom.
Freedom to live a life that's true to ourselves.
Exactly. And I think that's a perfect segue into the next part of our conversation.
Okay, so how do we actually start creating this kind of freedom in our lives?
That's what we're going to explore next.
All right, so I guess the big question now is what does all this actually look like in practice?
Yeah, like how do we actually create this kind of freedom in our own lives?
It's not exactly like there's a one-size-fits-all formula, right?
No, definitely not. What freedom looks like for one person might be totally different for someone else.
Like for some people, it might be about having the financial security to travel the world.
Or to pursue a creative passion.
Maybe it's about having more time to spend with family.
Or just having the flexibility to work from anywhere.
So it's really about figuring out what matters most to you.
Exactly. And then figuring out how your financial choices can support those goals.
Like how can you use money as a tool to create the life you want?
And I think that's where financial literacy comes in.
Yeah, it's not just about knowing how to invest or budget.
It's about understanding how to use money to create a life that feels aligned with your values.
So it's not just about having a lot of money, it's about having the knowledge and the confidence to use that money wisely.
Right. It's about being in the driver's seat.
And not letting your finances control you.
Because ultimately, that's what true freedom is all about.
It's about having the agency to design a life that you love.
A life where you feel empowered and fulfilled.
And where you have the flexibility to make choices that reflect your priorities.
So it's not about conforming to some external definition of success.
It's about creating a life that feels authentically you.
And that might look different for everyone.
But I think the key is to be intentional about your choices.
To think about how your financial decisions are impacting your time, your energy, your overall well-being.
And to remember that freedom is an ongoing process.
It's not a destination you arrive at.
It's about constantly making small adjustments and course corrections along the way.
And being open to new possibilities.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge.
What's that?
I want you to take some time to reflect on what freedom really means to you.
And then ask yourself what small steps you can take today to start moving closer to that vision.
It doesn't have to be anything drastic.
Just one small action that will help you feel more empowered and in control of your life.
Because ultimately, that's what this is all about.
It's about creating a life that feels rich and meaningful and free.
And using money as a tool to support that journey.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.